Welcome to the Daily Review. This is Razak, Senior Trading Strategist here at CMTrading. And today is April 9th, 2025, and today is Wednesday morning. So looking at the highlights of the day, the U.S. markets get what we call a dead cat bounce. It bounces and then back on its lows. But first, looking at today's major economic events. So we're looking at 8 p.m. South African time from the United States, and FOMC Meeting Minutes. That's a follow-up to last interest rate decision. Now looking at the market, starting out with the Forex symbols, the major pairs rebound back to their highs versus the US dollar. And as we look at the indices, the Dow Jones and the NASDAQ go back to their lows after getting that bounce. And looking at commodity, oil trades lower while gold trades higher. Inflation is still there. And looking at the stocks, most of the stocks traded lower. And lastly, look at cryptocurrencies. Bitcoin remains steady on its supportish level. So let's take a look at markets and see what we can expect from today's trading. So here we go. First with the Euro USD. Now we did get a bounce here back to its highs versus US dollar. We're at 110.32. And if the Dow Jones does sell off more today, I don't know if that's proper English, but whatever. If the Dow Jones sells off more, then we're going to see an inverse relationship. The dollar's going to get weaker, and we're going to see the euro push higher. And this trade tariff war is still going to be a focal point for the next, I don't know how long as this is resolved. And I imagine that it's not going to be completely resolved. Yes, does it make the U.S. stronger? Yes, but it also puts a lot of uncertainty in the markets, because now if some of the goods that the U.S. is importing in order to make some of their products now are becoming more expensive, guess who has to pay it? The final consumer. Now, the final consumer doesn't have that purchasing power in order to do that, and this is what's shaking up the markets right now. Now, looking at the GBP USD, we are bouncing, but not as strong. So this is something really important to keep in mind, because as we're here at 128, we should have been at 130-ish level for sure. So we're seeing some weakness in the GBP versus the US dollar. And if we focus on the Japanese yen, also very important, on its highs versus the dollar, right? So if the USD Japanese yen is a higher price, that means that the dollar is stronger. But if it's a lower price, that means the Japanese yen is getting stronger. And this is going to be a focal point because the Prime Minister of Japan is going to be going to the United States to be discussing this tariff with Donald Trump. So this is going to be very exciting over the next couple of days. Now shifting over to the indices. First to gold. Gold having a nice move to the upside, 3,045, a nice bounce. Now we are at resistance-ish level, so we may hit some pitfall here right below the 30-day moving average. But previously this is a resistance-ish area, so I don't like to fade it, but it might give us that opportunity. Okay, this may be a nice little play on the downside. And looking at crude oil, it continues to weaken below $60 a barrel and not holding itself up. And this is a little bit troublesome because we're breaking supportish area at $59 a barrel. That means we could be back at that $47, or could even be lower than that. So this is really something to consider going into this number as well. Now, looking at the US markets, let's take a look at the Dow Jones get what we call a dead cat bounce. Dead cat bounce implies that we get the bounce, but it tests its lows once again. And that's exactly what we're doing right now. We're testing our lows once again. That may mean that we'll further break down on the downside, okay, with a possibility of breaking even lower. Now, supportish level is at 36,265, and especially because we have a 200-day moving average to contend with. So, number one, if we stay above the 200-day moving average and above this 39K, this is super important, and then that means we're going to find ourselves in a new range, at least for now. But it may break it, and if it does break it, well, we've got a lot more that could go lower, even to 29,000. Now, looking at the NASDAQ, it looks a little bit stronger here, but we're looking at a weekly. So there you go. You can see it a little bit clearer. Double bottom possibly. Okay, so this is something really to focus today because it could create a really fantastic trading opportunity. Now, looking at the individual stocks, they all sold off, all right? I mean, there's, a variation of how much they sold off. Facebook is on its low. Microsoft is back on its low. If we look at the banks, JP Morgan, not on its low, but a little bit lower, okay? If we look at Bank of America, on its lows again. So a little bit of weakness there as this continues to show us. We got to make a list of strong stocks, weak stocks, and see how they actually pan out. Now, lastly, let's take a look at Bitcoin. You know, it's interesting because throughout all this, cryptocurrencies have been holding their own. And you would imagine that they would have sold off, they would have caught the fever, and they caught a little bit of the fever, but not that much, okay? We're looking at 77,000 for Bitcoin sitting on supportish level, so this is super important, okay? Because if we bounce, we get a nice bounce on the upside as well. So lots of opportunities still developing in the market, so be wary and be careful. As you're trading the markets, always defense before offense. But trade responsibly, and there's still huge opportunities. This is Fred Razak. I want to wish you guys a great trading day. Thank you.